What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ask Devin Anything on the Burn Bootcamp podcast. Right now, you're in the lab, which is my Burn Bootcamp home gym, and Morgan had a packed day today, so like 4 weeks ago, she asked me if I could stay home on this particular Monday and watch the kids. Casey is our nanny, and she is a wonderful nanny and allows Morgan and I to travel and run the business and do our thing, but she's part of the family too, so hey, when Dad gets called in, calling the righty, you know, I'm gonna come in, and I'm not only just gonna come in, and I'm not watching my kids. I'm gonna dad so hard today, and we've done nothing all day, but dad super hard. The kids right now are currently and hopefully in a quiet time in their room, although we know how quiet time turns out to be sometimes. So this is Ask Devin Anything. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. It's where you get to sit down with me, the founder, the visionary of Burn Bootcamp, and we get to just, like the show says, ask me anything. And it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite episodes to do because I don't know any of the questions usually beforehand. And I got Isaiah here. Most of you know Zay. He's behind the camera right now. He's gonna ask some questions today that came from you on the internet. We saved like a little folder, and we drop all the questions in the folder in a shared album. So you can go to LinkedIn or YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or DM anywhere, email, text, call, think about it. Write it down on a piece of paper, send it in mail. It doesn't matter. We're gonna find your most pressing questions. And this is like, think about this show as the, let's say the mental gym. You're thinking about Burn Bootcamp. Okay, yeah, obviously like our bread and butter is our in-gym, our 45-minute camps, get you in the best shape you've ever been in, right? But that's not what is going to motivate you to stay for the long term and be consistent and do what you need to do in order to make this a lifestyle. That's going to be right here, right now, the mental gym. And we like to put those mental reps in. So I literally just got done with a workout. I didn't go to camp today. And I stayed back home in the lab, and I did a bunch of different variations of pull-ups. And so, I mean, like 200 different variations or different pull-ups with different variations, from the suspension trainers that you see hanging in our gyms to the straight pull-up bar, the rig as well. And there's nothing like a pull-up workout. It's one of my favorite. And so, woo, I'm still a little sweaty from that. But let's get into it. Zay, what do we have today?
Yes. Question number 1. Recommendations to gain skin elasticity with workouts, avoiding surgery after weight loss.
Okay, so let me start by saying that I don't know much about skin elasticity, but what I do know is that the doctors that I've spoken with in the past, as I've had members who had what I would call like an extreme transformation from a super obese category down to a normal body weight category. What happens is your skin just expands with the amount of body weight that you have, and then when you lose that body mass, the skin elasticity, well, quiet time really didn't last that long, did it, guys? Didn't really last that long. Hi, Maxwell. Can you say hi to everyone? Say hi, everyone.
Hello.
Say hi, Burn Nation. I'm not going to open your toy till you say hi, Burn Nation.
Hi, Burn Nation.
Loud and proud with confidence, buddy. Say hi, Burn Nation. There we go. All right, here you go. All right, this is, yeah, I figured, I called that one, huh? All right, here you go, buddy. Have fun. And so skin elasticity, the elasticity of skin is finite, right? We know that. And there's a point of no return. Okay, there's a point of no return where, let's say if you were somebody who was maybe 5'8" and 410 pounds, and then you lose weight and you get to 150 pounds, your best bet is going to be surgically removing that skin. You're just not going to get there with the normal medical procedures that we have today, or like the topical creams and the eating good and all of that stuff. Your skin as an organ tends to regenerate itself, all right? Periodically, I believe every 6 months or so, you tend to, you see like dead skin that's inside of your coat or your hat or your socks or whatever. Like, that's what I mean. Like, old skin dies and new skin is regenerated. And so, there is some really promising science right now with stem cells, and I'm not in depth in. I'm really just going through and learning about this right now. But there's some in-depth kind of innovations in biology that are going on right now and chemistry to be able to, how would you say, regenerate the body the same way that maybe like some other animals, like for lizards, for example, when they lose their tail, they grow their tail back, right? So there's a lot of science in that realm of the world. Whether it impacts this particular conversation or not, I don't know. I'm not an expert, like I said, but I do know with the procedures that we have now, the topical stuff that we have now, eating healthy, organically, all that, it's just not going to happen unless you do get that excess skin removed. Now, if you're talking about somebody that just wants to, like, you know, get tighter around the eyes and get rid of some crow's feet and things like that, well, it's like, okay, well, that's a whole other conversation, but I don't think that's the direction in which this question was pointed. And so, listen, I don't think there's any shame in the surgery game if you've put all of your effort from going from 400, 390 pounds to a normal body weight. Bravo, congratulations. Like, I'm your biggest cheerleader, and anybody that tells you that you can go just run or work out that excess skin off and that, you know, your skin is elastic and it'll regenerate, well, even if that were to be true, which it's not, how long would that take, and how does that impact your quality of life? I mean, I know women specifically who have gotten 70 pounds, 60 pounds of excess skin cut from their triceps, cut from their bellies, cut from their inner thighs. And imagine 70 pounds and how taxing that is on your body and your posture. And, you know, pick up a 70-pound dumbbell and imagine having that, you know, kind of spread out on your body in different, you know, feeling strong, but then also like looking up every day and seeing like this reminder of this person that used to give themselves promises they would consistently break. It's just a reminder right in front of you every time that you look in the mirror of the person that you used to be. And I feel like that mental punishment is why I'm such an advocate of, you know, if you do need skin removal surgery, after you've had a large transformation, then go do that. I'll tell you what, if I'm being honest with you and transparent, I'll tell you this out of love. I'm not going to say this out of, you know, to diss anybody's procedural choices or anything like that, but my least favorite procedure is gastric bypass surgery or any type of stomach reducing surgery or just messing with the stomach at all. And here's what I'll tell you is because although there's people out there, like the vast minority of people that it's actually it works for them and they've made lifestyle choices. Well, you know, even if you ask doctors that do the surgery, like they are like most of the great ones are gung-ho about making sure that you're changing your lifestyle, that you're eating better foods, that you're not abusing your body and you're growing a respect for your body and a tolerance to eat healthy foods. Not only a tolerance, but beginning to have an empowering relationship with those foods and letting food fuel your body, you know? And so the gastric bypass surgeries tend to have this population of people, the vast majority, listen, I'm not saying everybody, so don't, you know, cut my head off, but the vast majority of people are going to rebound in some way. Like they're going to, or like, even if they don't rebound, like, are you really healthy? Like, isn't that just a hack, like literally to allow you to lose weight, which feels great, right? I'm sure it feels great. And I just hope that if you do take that route, that you change your lifestyle and that, you know, you've really tried everything else, that you've exhausted every other option. To me, that should be like your absolute last resort, starting with exercise, fitness, consistency there, and then one small win at a time with your nutrition. Not trying to swallow the whale whole and just do everything all at once. At Burn, we say 5 small wins. Like, get your protein up, get your water in, control your sugars, control your alcohol, and then let's really start to look at our macronutrients and our calories in, calories out. And you start to do those 5 things. I've had people just remove half of the chicken sandwich bread as their one little tiny small win, do that for 7-8 weeks, and they lose 25 pounds when they're working out consistently and they're intaking an adequate amount of hydration. And so then if you're doing that, and listen, not doing that for 12 days, doing that for 12 months, maybe not even 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years consistently, where you can look at yourself in a mirror and say, yes, I've done the work. I've done all the work necessary. There's nothing else. There's no other option for me right now. And this isn't the case with most people. Most people want to jump to like the shortest, easiest cut, literally sometimes, to be able to make themselves feel better, and it's all out of pure intent. But I'm saying that there's a hierarchy of disciplines that I want all of you to put in place if you're in that position before you just go out and you just start hacking up your body and stuff, right? So let's recap. So you go from fitness and consistency, right? And then you're going to go into small wins in nutrition. Then you're going to do that for a long period of time. I'm talking years, not weeks, not days, not 45-day, 60-day quick fixes. Okay, and then from there, if you have excess skin and excess dirt, you try to get rid of it if you've done everything. And from there, if you're still struggling with weight, if you're still struggling, then you can go to something else. But do everything possible.
Nice. Okay, question 2. How do I know when joint, not muscle, pain means I need to slow down or to push through it?
Okay, so how do you know when joint pain is actual pain? And that you're not just hurt, it doesn't just feel like a dull soreness. Your joints aren't sore, but they're actually painful. All right, number one and most obvious is that if it's swollen, that means there's an injury. It's not just a little soreness that means there's some type of injury in there. Your body's response to that injury of you mechanically not functioning how you're supposed to, mechanically and autonomy and function, you're gonna make that's gonna swell your body up. Okay, you're gonna make my knee right now, literally. All this is a good question, great timing. So I'm in Arkansas, and we are going hard for 3 days. The first day is an 18-hour day. We start at 4 a.m. We end at 10:30 is when we got back to the room. Fall asleep at 11. Wake up, do it again the next day. Wake up at 3:50. I'm not doing that every day, but sometimes that's necessary in my world. And so I'm on my knee all day. I've trained in camp. I've taken 2 camps. When I'm training camps and taking camps on the road, it is my most intense version of myself, out of wanting to impress and really show up for the members and for our trainers and for our franchise partners, right? Don't watch what I say, watch what I do type thing. But then also, I can't let up at all. I physically, literally can't let up at all, because the members expect me when I'm on the mic to just be on fire. I got to be better than the best trainers in the entire world. That's a tall task when I'm walking in gyms all the time. So I'm at a 10, I'm at a 12 out of 10 energy the entire camp. And then when I'm in camp, I just have a rotation, almost like a formation that they've agreed upon before camp, just to hit me in this carousel-like fashion where I don't get a single moment off, right? And I love it that way. And I am actually dumbfounded when I go into gyms and trainers aren't wanting to seek and destroy me, snatch my soul, put me on the floor. It's the best way that you could impress the leader of the company is to show me how you respect the challenge of the fitness product, because I've been walking around preaching my entire career that we're not selling memberships, but that we're selling confidence. In the challenge that we introduce to people, that fear that's inside of them is not fear in terms of anxiety or nervous energy. It's fear in terms of excitement. It's what am I going to what am I going to turn into? Who am I going to become when I jump over this obstacle that was put in front of me that I'm so scared of? Who am I going to become? Right? That's the message that we've been putting out. It's not what you're getting in the gym, it's who you're becoming. And so I'm trying to get better. Everybody knows that about me. Y'all know I'm personal development just junkie, not only for myself, but I like to practice what I preach, and I like to take what's worked and I like to pass it on to you all. Well, I'm beat up, right? So this right knee swells up, and now I've just got right now I just got puffy swelling on it. I'm injured right now. It's a small tweak. I know what it is. I probably tweaked my MCL just a touch. I know my knees well. I know my body well. I didn't tear anything. There's no slipping forward or back. There's no ACL. I know right when I did it. I was just in an awkward position down on my knee. I had no weight on my body. I was just in an awkward position. I'll be fine. But if I go mistake that for just being hurt and try to push through it, I'm going to injure myself, because there's something in there that my body's saying, literally putting fluid in my knee to say, hey, don't bend your knee. So me trying to see if it still hurts or not. Well, yeah, it still hurts. You don't need to check it every 22 minutes. It's still going to be that way. It's going to take a week for the swelling to go down, 10 days for me to get back in the gym. So today's Monday. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I'm working out at home today, partly because of the kids, but usually I'd get up in the morning and do camp. So it's like leg day today, and I couldn't get up in the morning and do camp, which throws me off my routine. That's a whole nother story, but I'm strong. I'll stay on it. I'll stay in my routine here in the gym and do some upper body. But it's not just a little minor dull soreness. Okay, so inflammation is number one. Sharp pain is number two. If you move and you're like, ouch, that really hurt, and then you could shake it out and you're fine, that's probably an injury. All right? If you don't have full range of motion, if you have a tendency to hold back, exploding in any plane, the frontal plane, the sagittal plane, the transverse plane, that's left to right, forward to back, and then in a rotation, like turning on an axis. If you can't explode in those planes and you're nervous, then you probably have a little injury, right? If you're like, and you might be like 90% explosive, you probably have a little tweak. If you're like 10% explosive, then you probably need to go get an MRI of some sort so that they can mirror image your knee and they could show you actually what's going on. I'm actually, just to give you like a personal update, I've had 2 knee surgeries on my left knee, okay? So I'm no stranger to this. I've been a professional athlete, a collegiate athlete, played baseball since I can even remember, like talking. So my left elbow, so in baseball, you have this unilateral type torque. So I was a right-handed pitcher. And so my body did this motion. If you're listening to this, you can see that motion as a pitcher goes. They just have this transverse kind of torque. Okay, so you're really moving in all planes as a pitcher. If you look at the mechanics, the frontal, sagittal, and the transverse. Most of your momentum is forward in sagittal plane, but you have that sagittal plane movement, but also you have that torque at the same time. Well, that means that your spine and your arm and all your joints have to accelerate and decelerate. So accelerate, decelerate, accelerate, decelerate. And your muscles are what accelerate and decelerate it. So you start to form what we call asymmetry in your body, like global asymmetry, because you have this giant compound movement, this kinetic movement that goes from literally like my plant foot in the ground, is hundreds, if not thousands of pounds of pressure. And then when I land, my front foot is 400, 500, 600 pounds of pressure. And my body is rotating. I'm whipping my arm as fast as I can. And my body needs to respond to control me, right? Or I'm going to either rip something or I'm just going to not be good. And so you start to build, like if you look at my lower left back, the deceleration in the lower back on my left side, my lower back extensor on my left side is, I'm jacked. It's huge compared to my other side. I have a little bit of spinal issue too, just from that rotation, but it's nothing near dangerous. It's just that muscle on that one side for so long has been just trained like that. So my point is, my lower back on that side, it's sore pretty much all the time. Because right now I'm trying to really straighten it out. So, from the time I was 10 years old, pitching at a high level. I was playing against the 14-year-olds when I was 10. So I'm playing up competitive baseball so that's 25 years. And I've just stopped playing when I was 23. So less than half the time, I've only been out of the game for like 11 years. So more than double the time that I've been out of the game, I was in the game. And so I'm trying to course correct that pain now. So here's my point. I don't let that dull lower back pain stop me from squatting really heavy. I just make sure that everything is form failure. Like I'm not trying to flex and see how much weight I can put on my back and, put 515 pounds on my back like I used to in college and 1 rep max that. I'm not trying to do that anymore because I know that I couldn't have form failure and I'm not going for that maximal strength training anymore. I'm going for hypertrophy. So failure in good form under 15 repetitions. And failure in good form is exactly what it means. You can see people that 1 rep max. You can just imagine what they look like. They're going super slow through the movement. Their knees have a valgus maneuver inward. They're pronating, supinating, some type of ankle rotation that's not in proper alignment. their hips are caving in, their lower back is rounded, they're pushing up with some of their upper back complex, their musculature, their core is kind of rounded, their chest isn't tall and proud, and they're just trying to get that freaking bar up, and it's just like, we don't need, unless we're training for that specifically, unless we're a lineman or a bodybuilder or a power lifter, we don't need to train that way. We need to train in form failure. And so here's the punchline of this whole question. Do not let dull soreness stop you from maxing out your weights in hypertrophy as long as you have form failure, but know the difference between an injury and being hurt or having dull soreness. An injury is your body saying, ouch, stop, don't do that, by either swelling or like a sharp pain. So listen to your body is my point here, and that's a great question, and I just have so much experience with that. Y'all, I had to manage I got hurt in college, and then I had to manage two full professional baseball seasons torn up. Like, I was torn up. And by the time that I got done, I lost my velocity. My body was so torn up, I just didn't have my velocity anymore. I started my career at like 90 to 93 miles an hour, any given pitch. And then I was down to 87 to 89 miles an hour by the time I was done, just in 2 years, just from forcing myself to working through being actually injured. Right? I wasn't even hurt. I was injured. I had sharp forearm tendon pains. I had bad like elbow pains, a bone spur in my elbow, just all types of little nagging things on top of a left knee that's had 2 surgeries, and I've had my lateral meniscus removed in my left knee. So my personal update is I'm a banged up human being. I know how to manage pain. I plan on being a banged up human being and managing pain till I'm 85 and walking around just like this. I'll stop and start when I need to. I don't have so much mental health and self-esteem put on consistently going to camp every day that I'm willing to override an injury to go to camp. I'm okay with backing off, resting, recovering, taking care of my body. I like to say mobility is the best ability. And although I know that your exercise routine, especially coming to camp 6 days a week, is your everything, it's what keeps you on your game. Your mental health game is so sharp because you're showing up to camp and you're anchoring it down every single day. And I love that about you, but here's what I'll tell you, right? You want to be able to do this consistently. Consistency is the name of the game. So give up some of that. Give a piece of that mental health pie to the long-term consistency game and be able to discern when you need to back off and when a rest day is actually moving you a step forward rather than when a rest day is actually giving you a step backwards, right? And here's the punchline. You don't get rest days when you're hurt or you have dull soreness. You take your rest days when you're injured, right? Because your shoulder has a little soreness in there doesn't mean you don't load your weights up in form failure for the day. Because your knee has a little thing, like don't point to your knee when your trainer comes around and point to your knee because they asked you to mod up and you point to your knee and then they're like, oh, okay, I got you. Because we're not going to mod you up if you got a knee thing going. We don't know your body. Only you know your body. But if I see you the next day doing jump squats in your garage on Instagram, or if I see you the next day in camp box jumping, I'm going to be like, really? Okay, because yesterday, you couldn't squat 10 pounds more because of your knee, but now you're doing the double box jump and then you're getting down and you're hopping. Okay. Are we injured or are we hurt? It's a good question.
Nice. Okay, last one. Knee pain product recommendation.
Oh, this is a great one. Okay. All right, listen. Knee pain product recommendations. All right, number 1. Rest. You don't need a product. If you need rest, you got some swelling, you got some sharp pain, just rest. Okay? What does rest mean, everybody? What does rest mean? We've all heard this acronym. Okay? What does rest mean? Okay? Raise. Oh, wait, it means, what does it mean? No. Here's what it is. It's rice. That's the one. Hold on, I had to remember this from my playing days. Rice. Rest, ice, compress, and elevate. All right? Rest, ice, compress, and elevate. That is the remedy for a knee injury. Now, you want to layer a little ibuprofen on to help some of that swelling. Great. I'm not a fan of any real type of antibiotics. I'm a very holistic type person. I don't even like taking ibuprofen. If you have a lot of swelling, super uncomfortable, maybe you do that, okay? But rest it, okay? If it's injured, don't use it. Don't even test it like we talked about, okay? Ice it. Put some ice. Pack. Okay, here's a little ice tip, all right? I've been icing this right knee of mine. Here's an ice tip. You go get a Ziploc bag, 2 Ziploc bags, all right? And you put the ice in the Ziploc bag enough to where you could lay the bag flat and every individual piece of ice has its own real estate, that there's not multiple layers. And then you close the Ziploc, suck all the air out of the Ziploc bag, zip it back up, all right? And then do that with both of them, all right? Lay back on your couch, put 2 pillows under your knee, lay a towel over the pillows. Then you're gonna put the one ice pack right underneath your knee, all right? Or right on top of the towel. And then you're gonna take the one half of the towel, fold it over nice and tight. I want it to be pressed on your knee. Before the towel goes over your knee, you're gonna put the other ice bag on and you're gonna layer both of them so both bags are touching your knee. And then you're gonna tuck that towel underneath your knee real tight. Take the other one, wrap it even tighter, tuck it, lift your knee up, tuck it underneath. Lay back, all right? Let your knee be above your heart, okay? That is so that's the compression kind of icing part of it. All right, and then you're gonna elevate it. Then when you're done elevating it, you take an ACE bandage or some type of compression wrap, and you're gonna go ahead and wrap that knee up, all right, and make sure that you kind of try to push that compression, push with that compression, keep some of the swelling out of that joint, let it get out of your body, let it metabolize. All right, so then if we are, we're taking a little ibuprofen, just obviously follow the doctor's orders, but this is what we've been doing for years. It comes straight from collegiate and professional locker rooms. I know, there's a lot of gadgets and things like that nowadays that you'll see. For example, you see the sleeves that go on your leg and you actually put ice in the machine. It's like an expensive machine, right? But like there's cryotherapy places that have them, especially in like suburban or metro areas have a lot of the cryo places, the recovery places now. They're leg sleeves and they basically hook up ice water to the leg sleeve and it's a compression leg sleeve, right? And so those are obviously gonna be better than the at-home rice remedy, right? But most of us just need the rice remedy. If you're like a professional athlete and timeline is like 2 days is super important to you, then there's gadgets and things like that you can, and professionals that can help you kind of take your game to the next level, but that's the simple basics of it.
Nice.
What do we got? Anything else, Isaiah?
I only have 3 for this one.
Okay, well, that's great, y'all. Well, there's a lot of technical injury questions today. I hope that's not a byproduct of this season. Everybody's out here getting injured. I hope it's not injured season. You got to take care of yourself, y'all. And here's what I will say though. I'll end this podcast by saying this. Early on, I used to. We have a lot of members, right? We're well over 100,000 members, and people get hurt. And I used to think, man, what safety means is that nobody gets hurt ever. Well, and then I started looking back, and I'm like, well, I don't think that can be true, and I'll give you my logic. Because when we are competing at a high level for something in our lives that we really care about, when we're competing at a high level that's something we care about, and there's a physical element to it, right? Sports is a great example. Well, you go into every single season knowing that there is a chance that you might not play some of the minutes that season or some of the games that season. You go into the season knowing, hey, that part of this physical journey that I'm going to go on, there's going to be setbacks. There's going to be nagging injuries. There's going to be my ankle, my hip, my surgery. Man, I'm going to roll my ankle every now and then, just turning a corner on a freaking rock, running outside. I'm going to slip off my stairs and I'm going to bust my butt in the Wisconsin winter. on some ice, and I'm going to bruise my tailbone, and I'm going to have bursitis, and I'm going to be out for 8 weeks. You know, like, injuries happen to life in general. Like, you're going to get injured by slamming your finger in the car door, right? So this whole narrative that I used to have of, hey, we need to keep everyone 100% safe was a flawed narrative, because it's a perfect action, and we can take as close to perfect action as possible to help mitigate that as much as possible. But mitigating it all is like trying to say you're going to keep every single NBA player safe the entire season, all the way through the season. It doesn't happen. Injuries are part of the game. And when you're doing something worthwhile, setbacks happen, right? Think about that. You've never done anything worthwhile where there's not some type of physical, mental, emotional setback. And in a way, that's what makes us stronger. So when you can put all of your self-esteem, all of your mental health in consistency of the gym, and then boom, tire goes flat, meaning you roll your ankle, and now you're on one leg, it's like, okay, what are you really made of? Now what you were you were a one-trick pony, right? All you had was consistency with your workout. Oh, what happens now if you remove consistency with your workout? Ooh, there becomes a level of fear now, because you're afraid of who you have to become a person that's mentally strong without physically being active every day. And so you take the next step forward in your life. And then you overcome that injury, you get back to your routine, and now you've compounded on a stronger mental armor. You have stronger mental armor because you have an injury, because you have a setback. Or, and this is also true, you have a weaker mental armor. And that, my friends, is your decision. How you handle the setback determines whether you're going to bounce back and be better than you ever were before, or you're going to use that as an excuse to let yourself go backwards from where you were when you got injured. And so, happy training. Make sure you're doing everything you can do to make sure that you're safe, in good form. Form failure is the name of the game. You will have an injury now and then, but us as trainers, our job is to do everything we possibly can on that floating floor to keep you safe and avoid you of injury. And I know you want that too. Because we want to stay in the game, don't we? We want to stay in the game. We want to keep working, all right? Keep moving, y'all. 2 claps on 2, 1, 2. Make sure you subscribe, flex on that subscribe button, and we're on YouTube and your favorite podcast. You know where to find us.